David Ornstein from The Athletic has reported Newcastle United have made an offer to sign Lucas Bergvall. Former Spurs captain Hugo Lloris has been talking about ex-Spurs star Dele and former Spurs striker Teddy Sheringham on Christian Romero. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hi everybody, hope you're well. Welcome back to the channel and to another edition of the Daily Tottenham News Headlines, where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. I'm leader Dorset Spur, and if you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Okay, so let's get into it. Here are the main headlines today. David Ornstein from The Athletic has reported Newcastle United have made an offer to sign Lucas Bergvall from Tottenham Hotspur. Proposal for the 20-year-old is £46 million. It has been turned down. Tottenham Hotspur rejected all bids so far. Nottingham Forest are lower and others higher than Newcastle United, but will consider a sale at the right price. Sky Sports on this story, they are stating that Newcastle have had an offer of £46 million verbally for Lucas Bergvall rejected by Tottenham. Discussions have taken place between the two clubs about the figures it would take to agree a deal for the 20-year-old. Newcastle are searching for a midfielder to replace Sandro Tonali, who was sold to Spurs in a club record £100 million deal earlier this month. Bergvall is determined to leave Spurs this summer, with Nottingham Forest having already had a £38 million offer rejected. Forest made Bergvall the top midfield target this summer after Elliot Anderson was sold to Manchester City for £116 million. Oliver Glasner's side are not expected to give up on Bergvall despite seeing their initial £38 million offer knocked back. Spurs are reluctant to let Bergvall go, but it's understood they will be open to selling the Sweden international if they receive the right offer. Bergvall wants to leave Spurs in search of more game time in his preferred role as a box-to-box midfielder. Sky Sports News have been told that there's been no attempt to convince Bergvall to stay, while Spurs sources have been insisting he is not for sale. The Standard has stated that Tottenham are prepared to facilitate further sales to help finance their rebuild under Roberto De Zerbi. Talks continue over Lucas Bergvall. Following the £50 million departure of Luka Vuskovic to Brighton earlier this week, Spurs sources told Standard Sport the club were actively looking to become more efficient at selling players. Historically, Tottenham have struggled to maximise value from player sales, but with De Zerbi spearheading a squad overhaul this summer, the clubs view this transfer window as an opportunity to turn a profit on those whose minutes might be limited by their aggressive spending. Spurs' summer outlay has already exceeded £200 million, with 6 new players arriving before pre-season started last week. Bergvall is amongst those players angling to move, as he believes he won't get minutes he needs at Tottenham next season. The Swedish international is reportedly attracting interest from Nottingham Forest, and while Spurs are keen to keep hold of him, Bergvall is assessing his options. Spurs have already spent a combined £185 million on midfielders Sandro Tonali and Matheus Fernandes, leaving Bergvall even further down the pecking order than last season. The 20-year-old saw his minutes restricted under De Zerbi as Spurs fought to stay in the Premier League, and he was informed by the club of the desire to leave and explore new opportunities. Jed Spence, who has enjoyed an impressive World Cup with England, is in a similar position to Bergvall. Tottenham would ideally want to keep Spence, but with minutes limited and interest building in the versatile fullback, he could be available at the right price. Spurs have been aggressive in their spending as they look to overhaul their previously conservative strategy in the transfer market, but their change in approach also applies to player sales. With so many new signings arriving at the club, departures are inevitable. Tottenham are in no rush to sell and will continue to demand fair market value, but they are also open to letting players move on for the right price. If Spurs are determined to embark upon a new era, it is not just how they spend their money, but also how much they bring in that will dictate their success. Looking at the most successful English clubs over the last decade, it quickly becomes clear that they are not only aggressive spenders, but also smart sellers. Spurs have not been that club in either metric for quite some time. They are adamant that this summer marks a change in both incomings and outgoings. Former Spurs captain Hugo Lloris has been talking about ex-Spurs star Dele. Talking on the Rio Ferdinand Presents YouTube channel, Lloris said, "It's sad, it's really sad, it hurts. I really like Dele and it was hard to predict. He was so talented and he started his career at Spurs so well, even with the national team jersey. But that's more. It's not only for Dele, it's almost the message to address to young players. You cannot lose focus on football. Today, it's really easy to get distracted by everything around you, and then you understand what is the reality. The reality is what's happening on the field every day. That's your job. The rest, yes, of course, you can develop a lot of things around football, and I think talking with a lot of ex-players or even current players, I don't think there is any secret. Hard work, dedication to football, passion for football, and make yourself ready to compete because football demands a lot." Former Spurs striker Teddy Sheringham on Christian Romero. "Listen, I wouldn't want to play against Christian Romero. He might be a loose cannon, but he's a really good player. He's a World Cup winner, and you don't win a World Cup being an average player. You've got to be careful what you're doing if you're Tottenham, just getting rid of him because he's had a bad spell. He could go somewhere else like Barcelona or Real Madrid and hit it off. I played with Roy Keane and he got plenty of red cards in his time, and you've got to have your leaders and your naughty players sometimes to stamp things out. Otherwise, people walk all over you, but it's got to be done in the right way. I hope De Zerbi can put an arm around Romero, but there's always so much speculation about his future, isn't there? So maybe the writing is on the wall." So just some thoughts on there. I'm not going to talk about Bergvall particularly, but the comment around buying and selling at the right price at the right time does make an awful lot of sense. The only thing for me is that you do want to keep your best and your brightest for the longer term. So whilst I understand Vuskovic wanted to go and he didn't want to play for Spurs and all the rest of it and wants regular game time, 19 years old, same as Bergvall, 20 years old. They've had a taste of it. They've had a taste of playing at the top level and they want to keep playing all the time. And I think that's the difficulty. I think if Spurs want to keep young players, they're going to have to integrate them into the squad and give them playing time. You won't do that if you're not in Europe. So this is a difficult season really, because this is a season where they want to spend and really spend big, get ourselves back into Europe to give us plenty of football. You then still need all those players available for those 2 matches a week, plus the FA Cup, plus the League Cup and so on. So this could be a difficult period in terms of knowing that your players are at a high value, so you can sell them and recoup that money, but then you've still got to invest that back into players that are a little bit younger, that are going to go further forward. The problem is getting that balance right in the squad, because you don't want all young players, because we've seen that relying on all young players just didn't work for us. But having a sprinkling of them in and out of the squad makes perfect sense. If you look at what City did, with Phil Foden, for instance, it makes perfect sense to do stuff like that. So, yeah, I understand it, and I do think we have held on with players for too long. Personally, I think there's other players who could probably move on before Bergvall, if I'm being honest, looking at the squad and all the rest of it. Bentancur, for instance, I thought had a great season in the end last season, but an older player, he's going to struggle a little bit more with his minutes, in my view. That would then open up space for Bergvall. But what do I know? The other one who kind of springs to mind, is really difficult to say this, and I have said this in a WhatsApp chat. The other one for me, who worries me slightly, is Maddison. I love Maddison. I think he's great. I love his passion. I love the way he loves the club and all the rest of it. But he's had injuries ever since he's come to Spurs, and I'm not sure he'll ever be the same sort of player when he comes back. But we'll see. This will be the season where we'll really see whether he can go a season without being injured. That would be really good. The Dele thing, I think Hugo makes some good points. There's so much razzmatazz that goes on around players in football clubs and so on. You know your brand deals, your parties, your models, your your investments. Your people behind trying to get involved, the press. There's so much in it. It's easy for a young player to have their head turned. I cannot understand what's gone on with Dele Alli unless he's just lost his passion for the game. He's too distracted by other things. Maybe he believed his own hype and just got too big for it. I don't know. It's an absolute travesty that guy is still so young and could still be playing at the top level if only he was focused enough that he could put in the performances week in, week out. It's just disappeared, and it's a real worry. We saw it before with other players as well. Your Jack Wilshere's, for instance, who I thought was a fantastic player when he started breaking through, but never really hit the ground, never really achieved anything. We'll see where it goes from there. But it is a message, like you say, it's a message for all players. And Hugo can talk from experience. He's been out there, he's got caught drink driving and so on. We're out and about with his mates, so he probably has a little bit of knowledge as well. So anyway, that's everything from me. So thanks for watching and for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. I'm leader Dorset Spur. If you want to pop over and say hi on my channel, I'd be more than happy to have you. If not, no problem. I'll see you on the next one, and as always, up the Spurs.